How's it going, YouTube? My name is Eli, and if you're new around here, welcome to my channel. I'm a street photographer based here in Indianapolis. And in today's video, we're going to be going over a few tips and tricks that I use with my Fujifilm cameras for street photography. Firstly, we're going to be discussing how I set up my cameras before I even begin the shooting process. There are many ways to create awesome images. I'm just going to be sharing my process. There are a few main settings that we're going to be looking at before we even get started today. Exposure settings, image quality settings, focusing settings, as well as metering settings. Remember, these are just the settings that I like to use. These don't have to be applied to you. I'd like to know down in the comment section below how you like to set up your Fujifilm cameras for street photography. So let's jump right into it. So there are obviously three basic settings that determine exposure: ISO, shutter speed, aperture. I usually shoot on auto ISO, but I have two main auto profiles that I use. The first is a maximum ISO of 6400 and a shutter speed minimum of 1/250th. I use this mostly during the daytime for sharp, motion blur free photos. The second setting I use for nighttime photography is max ISO of 12,800 and a shutter speed minimum of 1/125th. What's great about this setting is that if for some reason I desire some motion blur, I can quickly override this setting by manually changing the shutter speed button dial off of auto. So this setting takes care of both my ISO and my shutter speed for 90% of the time I make images. I prioritize the ability to control my aperture and essentially shoot aperture priority a high percentage of the time. I shoot in RAW a high percentage of the time since I enjoy the process of color grading and post-processing. However, there are times when I really enjoy utilizing the in-camera JPEG simulations and recipes, some of which I have found online and some of which I have created and tweaked to my liking. I will probably cover this more in depth in a future video. I keep my autofocus settings very simple. I use single point, single shot focusing, and I just move my focus point around as needed. Metering is a topic not talked about often. I generally use center weighted and then adjust exposure compensation if needed for a scene. Occasionally I will switch to spot metering if I need to protect extreme highlights in a certain scene. Metering can make an image look and feel drastically different. Now that we have gone over the settings I like to utilize to create images, let's go over how I use the conditions I have on the particular day to make the best photos possible. Generally, in the daytime, on a sunny day, I'm looking for a scene with natural contrast and color, and I tend to shoot RAW or use one of my warm and saturated recipes like kodachrome or portrait or astia. I really look for a balance of scenes and characters, but usually what draws my eye to a spot first is a great area or patch of light, and I use that spot as an inspiration as I work to create a final image. I also currently enjoy exploring the more abstract type of photography perfected by Ernst Haas, which utilizes a painterly quality and use of reflections and primary colors. Whereas on a cloudy day, usually I will either shoot in black and white JPEG with an in-camera recipe, or simply convert my RAW images to black and white in post-processing, and definitely try to add contrast and texture with some grain. If I'm shooting in the rain, I will usually shoot RAW so I can make the decision of color or black and white while editing to give my photos a moody vibe. Colors can still pop when there is the natural mirror effect of rain on things like roads or windows. I really enjoy shooting at nighttime. I find it great fun. There are an unlimited number of vibes that I can try to achieve. Sometimes I want a clean and sharp image, but generally I like a bit of grain and texture, and I will use the high ISO to my advantage by embracing the grain from the Fujifilm crop sensor. I also enjoy using some type of a diffusion filter, either a black pro mist or a moment cinebloom. I use a 1/4 power Tiffin black pro mist filter occasionally, as well as a 10% moment cinebloom filter. I like the noticeable yet still subtle effect these provide, as they enhance the mood without becoming a distraction like some of these stronger filters tend to become. So those are just some of the settings and mindsets I like to utilize with my Fujifilm cameras when I am doing street photography. I would love to know down below in the comments if there's anything new you gleaned from this video, or any settings that you use that I should probably try to use to enhance my photography as well. Also, when you're down there, make sure you put your Instagram, that way I can check out your photos. I love to see some of the images you guys and girls are creating with your Fujifilm cameras. I appreciate your time, and as always, thanks so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.